We need to talk a bit about Hearthstone, the current state of the game and where it is heading, because there's a lot of updates that I think I should share. So starting off, in the thumbnail you saw a graph. This is basically that graph, which is the search of Hearthstone over the years. So this is Google Trends, which tracks how many times something has been searched on Google, but also I think platforms like YouTube that are owned by Alphabet, which is Google. And yeah, this has been since the launch. We got like a big peak here in 2015, and ever since then it's been decreasing with spikes for expansions. This is normal though. Most games have a decline. Obviously not every game stays stable, and as you will see actually at the end, it is kind of stable. We're flatlining already, so it's good to see the game not run straight into the ground and die. So I see a big argument on socials as well, is Hearthstone dying? I think this is an indication of Hearthstone is kind of stabilizing, but it's not looking super healthy. Now let's look at 5 years. Now this is in Dutch, but you still understand. So this is 5 years, so you can more clearly see the spikes and the slow decline, but things being stabilized kind of. One thing though is also there's not that many spikes, so people are not that hyped anymore for the game, which is a little bit worrying. It seems like Hearthstone does not get the traction that it used to. And a more interesting one is if you compare Hearthstone, which is the blue line, with TFT, which launched here and is having still some major spikes and outperforming Hearthstone for now. And then the yellow line is Runeterra, so these are basically other card games that are similar, which had some big spikes but now is kind of at the same level, also flatlined next to Hearthstone. Now keep in mind, Hearthstone is a very old game. It's older than most of these, so seeing it actually still be alive is maybe kind of impressive. But if you compare it to a different game that has been around for a while, that is obviously a bit bigger, like League, you can see that a game like this doesn't actually like seem to decline anymore. So over 5 years, League has declined a little bit, but not as much compared to what Hearthstone has faced. I wonder what happens if you do like, wow. Okay, so this is League, big spike and then flatline earlier on. Take away from this what you want. I just thought it was interesting and I wanted to explain why I went with this thumbnail, because as a content creator, we are really always looking at how healthy or what the state of the game is. Let's move on to the real issues now. I hope this intro wasn't too long. The first thing I want to mention is the crazy bugs that we've had recently again, that is having a lot of players worried about the overall state of the game, with just how it operates. I'm gonna start off with a video that I made and posted on Twitter, which is explaining the lag that we have. So I played APM Pirates. I'm gonna mute the video, but you will just see the amount of lag that the game has right now when trying to do fast actions. Like when selling something, when buying or rolling, it can take sometimes up to seconds before that registers, which is absolutely insane. And I'm not the only one having this issue. I think most people have been really struggling with lag right now, client-side lag, not really frames, and no one really knows why or what causes it. And for the longest time we also had no information or no like feedback from the devs, but luckily we had finally a reply. So Colin said he had the same issues as well, and Miner asked and tagged some developers to see if there's a statement on this, and so Mitchell answered that the team is absolutely aware of the issue and is working on a fix. I unfortunately can't provide a timeline, but we want to fix it as soon as possible. So they know about it, they are working on it actively. It's kind of annoying that it's been for this long already and we don't know when it's going to be fixed, if ever, but they are trying to work on a fix because they obviously don't want this to be around in the game. But it's still, I think, the hottest debate right now, the APM lag and just the lag in the game in general that can cost you games. Another crazy bug is Jeef, for example, posted that this morning. I'll just play it with sound, you'll see what it is about, but it's kind of surreal to be honest.
Okay, basically something really ridiculous just happened. So, as you can see, my last game was a Zyrella 4th place game. Lost, and right now I'm at 14,660 MMR, right? But when I end the stream today, I got the Zyrella 4th place, lost 25 MMR to 14,799. So like basically, I just lost 139 MMR for absolutely no reason.
Which is crazy. So he lost a lot of MMR for nothing, out of nowhere, without him even queuing a game, because at the end of the stream he got a certain MMR, he logged back in and he lost MMR. And he said it's not even the first time this happened, so issues like this, kind of crazy that they're there, because he's literally rank 1 NA. He's one of the highest ranked players. It's not like, you know, 140 MMR is nothing. Another bug that has been very prevalent and I see pop up quite a lot is the Argus bug. Here's a clip of XD playing Argus.
Merci. Okay, dude.
Yeah, so that still happens as well. Basically, there's just a bunch of, like the gold book, for example, where you visually, it shows like you would have 1 or 2 gold left. While you spent all your gold already, is something that has been in the game, I think, since launch, and is still there. And I think they mentioned they fixed it, but then they came back and it's still there. It's just still riddled with these annoying things that hopefully will get more streamlined soon. But I think the more content they add and the more big updates happen, the more things seem to be breaking, which is worrying for the future. Now, a quick reminder that if you're new to the channel and you do enjoy this kind of content, to click the subscribe button. It's in Dutch for me, but it helps out a lot and you get to catch more videos of mine. I hope this was a good plug. Another big issue I think right now is the design choices that have been made. I mean, I'm just bringing this card up because everyone knows that this was the reason why Naga was broken. Stormscale Siren single-handedly scaled Naga to the moon. It was a 3-drop, then nerfed to a 5-drop, and then just removed from the game. And I mean, that's just one card. Usually a tribe, when it's released, it's OP, so I can kind of forgive them for this. But one design choice that I have a lot of people worried is the amount of heroes that we have in the game right now. We currently have 83 different heroes and 117 minions, which is nuts how many heroes we have. A lot of them are really bad, almost unplayable, and they just keep adding and adding, not removing or changing too much, and it just becomes a lot to learn for new players, and just sometimes you get 4 hero options where you have nothing to do. So that's a design choice that I don't understand, and a lot of people don't really understand either, why they just keep on adding more and more heroes when there's so many underlying issues that still need to be fixed, I think. Now, another one is Diablo. Now, I know some people do enjoy Diablo and the event, but the majority really didn't. So when they announced that Diablo is going to be back for a week, it's only a week, so it's okay. They said they were going to have changes to have him not feel as bad. With changes, they meant just like updating the hero power a little bit, adding some nerfs, but the gameplay was still the same. It still felt really bad to just have him in your lobby, at least for a lot of players. So the fact that they got all this feedback the first time they released Diablo, I even did a podcast episode with Cora, who's one of the designers. We said they were listening and they knew Diablo was too strong and not that fun to play, and that they were listening and taking that into account. But then seeing Diablo just being re-released almost exactly the same, even if it's for a week and some people did enjoy it, I think they should have just changed something fundamentally to at least not have a lot of players quit. I quit playing for a week because this was just not fun to play for me. I know a lot of streamers and other players that just didn't play for a week. It just doesn't make a lot of sense, and a lot of people are confused as to why things like this happen. Now, they did do a developer insight on some balance changes. This was about a month ago. They also gave us some info on like the top % of players. This was when buddy meta was a thing, right as the rank reset was going to happen and Nagas were going to be introduced, so keep that in mind. Things are still a little bit different right now, but at the end of the buddy meta, top 50% was 5,700 MMR, top 25% 6,500, and top 10% 7,000. We're at top 1%, we got 8,300. So all of these are actually pretty close together. Now, the biggest point though is that they listed like the top 10 performing heroes just in general in Hearthstone, and then the top 10 performing heroes in the top 1%, and that both are basically completely different. And they use this as a way to like explain their balancing process, that the top 1% of players play completely different from the majority of players. That, I mean, Lord Jaraxxus is one of the best heroes in the game, Shanvala, Cariel. Again, this was with buddies, but still, that's kind of ridiculous to be honest. But it's just because those heroes are easy to play, simple, you force a tribe and you have stats, which doesn't work in high ranks, but in low ranks, it's just gonna win lobbies. So the takeaway here is that players shouldn't feel obligated to pick only the heroes that work best for top 1% of players, but should instead experiment with different heroes to see what performs best for their skill bracket, level of engagement with the game, and playstyle. Now, this is somewhat true, but at the same time, if you just keep picking heroes that are good at your skill bracket, so let's say you're like 5,000 MMR and you keep picking Cariel Roam because you enjoy it and it's just good in your skill bracket and it's easy to play, then you're never gonna grind or get higher ranks or actually be able to compete with other people. So I don't think this advice is really good if you're really trying to climb. If you climb, you should see what the top % plays, why, you should learn those heroes and actually adapt. So yeah, if you want to climb the rank, I don't think this is a good advice. You do need to learn why some heroes are better than others, even if they're more difficult to play. But sure, people have different play styles and just play what you enjoy. I think this is more towards the casual players who just want to enjoy Battlegrounds. So they gave the example of Shutterwalk, who was in lower ranks just being played to play a bunch of buffs, right? A bunch of random battle cries and stuff like that. In higher ranks, you use it with tokens to get a bunch of triples. So balancing there, they basically just gave more tempo, or like the buddy +2/+2 to Shutterwalk, so that way in lower ranks they could buff Shadowwalk that way because it's kind of relevant there. In higher ranks, a +2/+2 doesn't really matter because it doesn't fit the playstyle of high ranked players. But the issue is that high ranked players were still abusing Shadowwalk and getting a million triples with well, the hero power with tokens, so that was not addressed. I don't really like the example that much just because of that reason, but I hope this somewhat explains why some heroes that seem weird get buffed or nerfed for higher ranked players, because we don't see the full picture and the major player base. Getting developer insights like these are amazing. We get a lot of behind the scenes of seeing how they actually decide to work on stuff, but I do think that the top % of players do suffer quite a lot from some of these balance changes, like the Shadowwalk, for example. And yeah, armor, for example, is a really weird way to like artificially inflate or mess with the numbers of heroes without really addressing the underlying issue of the hero power being good or bad in higher ranks. One other thing that is kind of blowing my mind still is that most of the information that we get is from Twitter still. So if someone is not on Twitter, you're kind of left in the dark. This is Mitchell, who left a lot of crucial information that was really helpful. It's really good that we see so much interaction and that we get all of this info still from the developers themselves. So it's nice to see the transparency. But this is all clarifications for the patch notes. Like, a lot of people were confused about the patch notes and had questions. So these are things that should be in the patch notes themselves and shouldn't be communicated necessarily only over Twitter, because a lot of people will not have this information if you're not in the loop. Like, the fact that you need board space to summon the tentacle was not very obvious, that the tentacle is a beast and what upgrade means, that it is +1/+1. Like, for example, Diablo, a lot of Diablo questions had to be answered. And the craziest thing as well is that in game, there's still no updates. Like, when Siren was removed, the 5-drop for Naga, we only knew because of Twitter and because it was mentioned. There was no way, if you just don't look at socials, if you just play Hearthstone, you would suddenly just not be able to find Siren. Even if you doom roll for it, if you just keep looking for it until you're 5, you would just be screwed because you didn't have that info. So how do they make such a big change, such a fundamental change to Naga in the game without addressing it there for all of the players that are not as active? So another thing that I hope they will add soon. I hope this video just doesn't come off as me ranting. I'm trying to give as much feedback, as much critical views on the future of Hearthstone as possible. I do enjoy the game. I think they're going in a good direction still. Like I mentioned with the curve, I think we're like kind of stabilizing now, and we are getting more like interaction as before. But of course, I gotta nitpick and I gotta, you know, address the issues that we're facing right now. Another cool thing that we have is Lobby Legends now, which is the esports. So esports for a game, of course, very hyped. Finally, this is definitely going to contribute to Battlegrounds staying in the loop and staying competitive and people actually caring about grinding. I think so far they've done an amazing job at just the way the system works, the prize pools. I think the best part is the co-streams. These are all streamers. I'm in here somewhere as well. Here I am. So people that are able to co-stream the event, and just I was able to make content out of it, make a cool video out of it as well. So they're doing a lot for the community, and I think so far Lobby Legends is kind of a hit. Now there's a couple things, of course, that could be done better, like the qualification rounds. If you're top 16, there's only like 3 games that you play offline, which is insane. That's like the main downside, and you only have 3 qualifying matches, which is not enough for a game like Battlegrounds. Another thing, and probably the last thing that I want to bring up, is that the Naga hype is already kind of dying down. So we got a new tribe, the game is already feeling like it's stabilized, and a big issue is, well, I think it's better said by RDU and by Nicholena, who I saw talking about this on Twitter. So Nicholena wanted Diablo back because the game felt unfun without him. Some people do enjoy Diablo, like I mentioned, the majority doesn't, but that doesn't mean that Diablo wasn't an update worth putting in still. And RDU mentioned that updates are taking out updates like Buddies or Diablo, so kind of every update is taking content away. Like when Buddies were removed, that was an update, and then the game feels emptier and feels like it's missing something. Then putting Diablo in and then removing it again feels kind of counterintuitive. So we're having a lot of updates that just take shit away, and there needs to be more rotation. So they keep on adding new heroes, which I don't think is the correct way to approach this. I think they should rework heroes. I think the best update they've done so far is a refresh, where they took all of these tribes that we already have and changed up how they work, changed up some scaling, just changed up like beasts and added crocodile skin. And I think that's the way to go, to just have more like rotational seasons, things like that, or updates that are not just gonna being thrown in and then people hate it or love it and then being taken away again. Hope you enjoyed this little bit of a more critical and different video, where I do a different format, where I just try and show as much info as possible and background while I want to talk about the game. Hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, I don't want to make it any longer. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.